Hi, everyone. Welcome to the latest episode of Fearless Backgammon. And my name's Jay, as you might know. Today we're going to continue the match, the 5 point match. But first, just a reminder that I am offering lessons. Not very expensive, $30 an hour. My preferred method of giving a lesson is to play together with you in a consultation match against XG, the computer player, the strong computer player, and consult and discuss decisions and see if we can together get a decent match, decent PR, and in the process learn right through the match. And of course, I learn through it as well. I'm not perfect, but I think I can help you to boost your rating, right? Your PR, and if you're on Backgammon Galaxy and you want to get up to 2000 or beyond, then I can help you with that. Yeah. Just recently, I cracked the top 100 for the latest time. Here we are, 87. So that's pretty good considering there are thousands and thousands and thousands of players on Backgammon Galaxy. Yeah. And I've even accumulated almost 500,000 gold coins. So I think I've got things to show you. You can see from the analysis that I conduct on the channel, hopefully it's helpful, but also, uh, yeah, I've gotten to this level through study, through understanding principles, and I can try to communicate those principles as we study together. So let me know. My emails will be in a link, yeah, down below. Okay, so let's talk about this latest game. And right now it's 2-1 for white. And so in this position, black should be looking at a gammonous situation where they can double because they're four away, right? It's three-way, four-away. And that's when you're four-away, you're looking for these gammonish, fairly early doubles so that you can hopefully finish the match in a gammon, double the gammon, yeah? And white has to be a little careful also about doubling because then uh, black can fairly quickly redouble to four and play for the match, right? And so that's kind of the doubling situation. But in any case, the theme from the last episode was giving an early double. And so we're going to see that again here, but we're also going to look at some of the considerations about passing or taking a double at a fairly early stage. So this isn't a particularly long match again, but let's have a look. Okay. So um, we start with white playing 6-4, and as you can see, white splits from the back and brings a checker down. And just to let you know, like running with 6-4, right, running from 24 to 14 is perfectly fine. You can see that there's not a big difference, right, in terms of the evaluation, especially when you're leading in the match. It's quite okay. But the main difference is, the nature of the game that results. Generally speaking, if you play a running game, it's a fairly simple kind of strategy. And so, from my point of view, I feel I'm generally a stronger player than most, and so I want a more complicated game. And so this is why I play 6-4 an opening roll like this. Of course, you can make the 2 point as well, but notice that this score, making the 2 point, is weaker. It's a mistake because you're ahead in the race. Sorry, you're ahead in the match, so you generally don't want to set up this kind of position. This is more like if you're behind in the game, but it's not a huge error. In any case, so 24-14, if you're playing against a stronger player and you're not behind in the match or anything like that, then this would be probably recommended because generally speaking, it leads to a simpler game, right? The running game. Okay, so keep that in mind. Yeah? Okay. Black responds with 4-1 and of course hits with the 1, and then there's the question of what to do with the 4. And if you look at the evaluation from plus plus, it's really close. Okay. Um, Generally speaking, when you only have one spare checker on your 8 point, right, and you have to hit with it, then you want to bring down another checker. Okay. Um, as black does here, just to sort of help you to cover or hit again or stuff like that. But the splitting from the back is also pretty good, um, especially if you're behind in the match. This might be a better kind of move, I think. But in any case, it's pretty close here. Okay. So just keep that in mind, yeah, that generally speaking, unstacking the midpoint is also a good idea, right? Okay, so white doesn't have a great reply. It comes in with a three and hits with the one, right? White is fighting for some homeboard points. They're not going to necessarily appear on their own through great rolls. So hitting loose from the 6 point, unstacking that 6 point, okay, is a good idea here, right? Don't be afraid of hitting when you have a big stack like this. And of course, black's homeboard is nothing to be afraid of at this point. Okay, so the early part of the game is the time when you really wanna fight, yeah. Okay, so um, right, so black replies with a hit. Okay, and white comes in with a 4-6 and hits back, of course. Now here we come to an interesting moment, and this is a little surprising, right? Black has the opportunity to make his opponent's 5 point, which is especially in this kind of game, right, where it really looks like it's going to go on for a while. No one's going to deal a quick knockout. Securing that golden anchor, they call it, the golden point, right, is really paramount here. And notice that then XG recommends hitting with the three, hitting loose, and unstacking their own 5 point, or 6 point, I should say. Okay. So maybe the problem was that black felt that there wasn't a good three, okay, because in this situation, at least he anchors with the three and then plays out with the five. But this is again a bit strange. You've got the worst anchor, and you put your checker out in the outfield where it could potentially get hit. White has the whole roll to play with. Lots of flexibility and freedom for white to play this role. So it's really a big mistake. Okay, and it's a bit strange that black was kind of like, oh, I don't want to hit with a three. Well, at this point, you've got your anchor. White has plenty of checkers back anyways, so if you get hit and sent back, then it's not a big thing, right? There's still a long game ahead, and unstacking that 6 point is really nice as well. Taking away white's full roll is that kind of bonus with hitting loose like this. Okay, so quite a sizable mistake. If you get a chance to secure your opponent's 5 point, it's really worth consideration here. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So black doesn't do that though. He makes his 22 point anchor. Okay, on his opponent's 3 point and jumps out. And white has a nice roll. He's able to hit and then make the 9 point, which is a nice blocking point, right? In terms of blocking that anchor, yeah. So 6 checkers away, right? So very nice to block that. Black comes in with the 1, and then he sees, oh yes, well, I guess I better hit with the 2. So this is another instance where you can tell a player is not very strong. They're kind of inconsistent in their game plans, in their strategic understanding of the position. He should have hit loose before, but now he hits loose, and before he was kind of jumping out, and now he's hitting loose, and so it seems like Black doesn't really understand the position. He's just kind of reacting to the dice rolls, right? So that's something that you start to develop as a stronger player. You start to see, okay, well, this is a situation where I need to hit loose, and then you are consistent with it. Okay, and of course you can change game plans depending on different roles and the way things turn out, but keep that in mind, that try to develop a consistent game plan unless things change. Okay. So, in any case, Black does correctly hit loose here. And White comes in with a 5, and now he has a choice, right, to anchor up on his opponent's bar point or his opponent's 5 point. And I did just mention the importance of that golden point, the golden anchor, so to speak. But it's interesting that here XG slightly prefers making the bar point. It does block Black's 6s, but on the other hand, Black has some decent 6s in terms of running out from the back, right? So he can play 6s from here. So it's very close in any case. I wouldn't consider it really a mistake at our level, right? I suppose White is slightly ahead in the race, so a higher anchor is better. And obviously 6s hit for Black, so maybe that's a bit of a concern as well. But I did feel the game was going to be a long one, so that's the reason why I made this anchor. Because an anchor in your opponent's home board, right, protects you from blitzes and such things. But I can see the rationale of just not giving your opponent really easy 6s to play. Okay. The other advantage, just a small point, is in the case that White makes the bar point, then there's still some pressure on this checker, right? This checker is threatening to hit, so White has a little pressure to try to cover it if he can. Of course, if he covers from here with a 3-6 or something, that would be nice. But in any case, it's a close decision, but I can see the rationale for making the bar point here. Yeah. Okay, let's get rid of these annotations. Okay. Boom, boom, boom. And yeah, so White makes the 5 point, and Black rolls a 4-3. Now, what's going on here? In backgammon, a big kind of principle that you have to keep in mind is when to play safe and when to not worry about being hit or blots or things like that, okay? And you can see that Black plays safely here, right? 13-6, which is a pretty inflexible kind of roll, like a play, I should say, move. And this is one of the situations where Black should consider, like, I don't really have to play safe. Let me do something constructive instead. Okay. Notice White's home board is quite, non-threatening. Okay, so Black has an anchor and White doesn't have any home board points yet. So being hit is not really a disaster. Black is also behind in the race, so that's another consideration, even though they kind of have the same number of checkers back. Okay. So this is a situation where you don't have to worry too much. And if you have a choice between playing kind of a inflexible, safe move and quite a constructive move, then you should go for the constructive move, even if you leave blots. Okay, so if we look at what XG suggests, okay, you can see that XG wants to make the 4-point, okay, and then slot the 3-point. Yeah, and the result is, yeah, it's leaving that point on the A plot, right, open, and to a double shot, no less. Okay, but it's okay. It's okay to get hit here, and it's no guarantee you're going to get hit. Maybe white misses, and black is able to remake the 8-point with a 5, yeah, or make the 3-point or something like that. But at least black has done something constructive with that roll, as opposed to just stacking and playing it safe when they don't really need to play safe. Okay, and notice that even if white hits, black has some return shots, and there's so much play still here, but black has the better home board, at least at this point, right? So look out for that principle, and do consider when is it necessary to play safe and when is leaving a blot or blots actually fine, when you can do something better. I've seen opponents, they automatically make a point with their blots when there's no threat, they're not under attack, and instead they could have just played flexibly. But it's part of our early backgammon education, right? Make points, okay? Points are safe, and we have to move away from that automaticity of thinking that way, and just consider, when can I afford to be more flexible and looser to a certain degree, when my opponent's home board is not so bad, right? And I'm behind in the race and that kind of thing. Good. Right. So instead, black plays safely. Okay. And white just gets a minor kind of move, roll 2-1. So not much you can do here. It is interesting though that XG suggests this move, which is quite interesting, right? Coming out and slotting. And this is another example where it seems like a tremendous risk, but black's home board is not that strong. Black's position is quite inflexible on his side, okay? He has a blot in his home board. So if black hits, notice 4s and 2s hit, and 4s and 2s cover this checker. So there's some nice duplication there. And 4s hit this checker as well, okay? So some nice duplication. So a good opportunity potentially to just try to start building points in the home board in case black misses with 4s and 2s. Yeah. Okay. So that's quite interesting, and that's another an illustration of that same principle that I just talked about, as when to play safe and when to take some risks. Okay. But in any case, the white decides to just run, and that's fine. And XG says that's good too. Okay. Right, black rolls a 6-1. Thankfully, black doesn't follow that same principle, right? Black could just like play safely again, but here's another example of just inconsistency, right, with black's game plan. Just the move before, he played safely, and now he's taking more of a risk by jumping out with the 6, okay, which is the right move. So black doesn't yet have this ability to consistently follow a game plan, or at least conceptualize a game plan that he or she can follow. So in terms of his move, he's quite right to come out, okay? And then 4-3, yeah, there's not much else. Notice this even this is not a huge mistake, just playing 6-1 like this. jumping out from your anchor. If you've been on YouTube, you might have seen Michihito Kageyama. He talks about this anchor, right? The butterfly anchor as being an anchor that you commonly, you're not so hesitant about jumping off of. And so this is an example where it's not really a big mistake, right? To just fight for the outfield and jump out there and not get stuck on anchors. But yeah, White plays the best move, okay, of jumping out with the back checker and just playing in. And the race is not too far. Like there, sometimes you might consider, I shouldn't run like that. I should keep my back checker because I'm really behind in the race. But the race is fairly close, so it's worth fighting for a more advanced anchor and for some outfield control by playing this. Okay. Right, and White has a good roll, double five, so that puts him far ahead in the race. So out he jumps, okay? And if he doesn't get hit, then he's certainly going to have a sizable advantage. But Black hits and correctly just moves on, okay? But obviously, there's a problem once he hits, right? Now he's got blots all over the board. But it's got to be done, right? If Black doesn't hit, then he's just going to be massively behind. And at least this gives him some chances. Now here we come to the end of the game, believe it or not, because White doubles and Black passes. Okay. And let's talk about the double first. Last video, we talked about early doubles and, how you want to double when your opponent will still take. And so I doubled this with the understanding that my opponent would take. But I was thinking that I had enough threats that if he did take, then I could really perhaps smash him. But according to XG, and I can see it now, it's early, right? One of the key things is, yes, I'm ahead in the race, okay, but not by a huge amount. But the most important thing is in terms of threats, right? Look at my home board. It's not developed yet. Okay. And so, yeah, I have threats to hit checkers, but Black will be the favorite to come in, even if I hit two. And he's not in such a dire position yet. He still has plenty of play. If you look at what XG says, White in this position has a basically 68% winning chances, and Black has 32%, which is quite a bit. And in terms of gammons, yes, White has almost 20% gammons. Okay, that's not bad. But yeah, there's still so much play here. And in terms of threats, not a lot. I think one of the key aspects here, right? If Black didn't have an anchor, then the position would be much more volatile, and potentially that could be a double, okay? Because there are sequences, right, like double threes and stuff like that, or double fives, or doubles basically from the bar, or double hits, and Black doesn't enter with both checkers, that kind of thing. But with an anchor, Black's kind of in it for the long term. Even if things go south quickly, there's potential to turn the thing around, and there aren't that many rolls that White has that, once Black has an anchor, you're not going to knock out Black, basically, okay? So this was early, this double. It's so when we talked about in the last video about early doubles, it's true that White has a good advantage, but do look out for your home board position, right? So you basically need some decent threats, and to have decent threats, you need to have some home board development in terms of a couple extra points, hopefully, made in your home board. Okay. So this is a bit early, especially, I haven't mentioned it, but white's on the bar, right? And it's actually not bad to double from the bar sometimes, right? Black doesn't have a home board, and he's got a juicy blot there. But yeah, the chance that white can, one hit and enter and hit, right, and then hit something else are not that high. Okay. And white could just like enter and not hit anything too, right? Is basically possible, I suppose. Not likely, but what if white enters and then has to, like, let's say that white enters and rolls 1-6, let's say, okay? So, enters here and then hits here. Does he really have such a huge advantage, right? Probably not. I mean, of course, things could go well, but black could just like hit from the bar, or cover, and white has a checker on the 24 point that he has to get out. So there's would still be a lot of work. Okay, so that's kind of why this is too early for a double, even though I advocated for early doubles in my video last time. But the nice thing about doubling is that sometimes your opponent passes. And there we go. We have a double pass. And as you can see, it's a huge mistake to pass this, okay? Almost 300 level mistake. And some of the things I just talked about, okay? So the key thing here is if your opponent has not made any home board points, okay? That's one thing that could push you to think, this is probably a take. Second, if you have an anchor, that's going to make it more likely for you to take an early double, okay, and not pass it. Yes, black has blots, okay, here, here, and here. But with the anchor and the lack of development by white and the race not being completely out of reach, even though after some hits it might be, but for now at least, all these things indicate that this is quite a big take and much too early to let go. Okay. So remember those two principles. Look at your opponent's home board. That does he have a developed home board? Do you have an anchor? Okay. Look at your own position. Now, in this case, black's position is not strong in the home board, so that kind of points towards being more careful. But I think white's position is the one that would get black to take this. Okay. The other consideration here is actually the match score. Okay. So white is 3 away to 5. And white actually wants to win 1 point here. I mean, he'd like to win 2 points, of course, and that's one of the reasons why he doubled. But 1 point is actually quite good at this score. Why is that? Because that puts him 2 away. Okay, and you want to be like an even number away. So this white quite cheaply through this early double pass gets to 3-5, right? The 2 away. And he's quite happy with that. One, if he gammons black without the doubling cube, then he wins the match, right, with 2 points. And 2, if he gets in a position, let's say where he's really ahead in the race and he doubles, if black takes, then yeah, he could win the match that way as well. So he's 2 away. So white is really happy. And for this reason, XG also says it's a big mistake to pass. Don't give white that extra point to get him to 2 away so cheaply, so easily. Okay, so match score as well points black towards taking this cube. Okay, so in any case, black did pass. And I must admit, I was surprised, happily surprised. But it does happen. You never know with your opponent unless you have experience with your opponent. You know about their habits in terms of the cube. Sometimes those early doubles will pay off. I don't recommend making such a big mistake as I did here with an early double. But do keep in mind, as I mentioned in the last video, if you double early, there are chances where opponent will get spooked and decide to just drop it, and they don't like their position. It's unpleasant to play, and they just let it go. Yeah. Okay. So that's one of the benefits of doubling early as well. Doesn't always happen, but it's a nice surprise when it does. Yeah. Okay. So that's about it for this time. So as I mentioned, the new score puts white at 2 away and black is at 4 away. Okay, and this is quite an important score in match play. I'll talk about it more in the next video, right? But basically, both players are looking for gammons at this score. And black is looking for a possible doubled gammon to win the match, and white is looking for an undoubled gammon to win the match. So it can be quite exciting, and the cube considerations, you have to adjust somewhat, and in some cases in a big way, both players at the 2 away, 4 away score. Okay, so anyways, hope to leave some comments or questions or ideas below on YouTube. And yeah, thanks for your support and see you next time. Thanks.